Okay, my guys appear to be clipping into a single location, so they're getting really cozy. All right, it is disco o'clock on disco day. Thursday is disco day, so be prepared to disco. I am I am Lauren the talking flute, and I'm going to talk at you a lot. Cause that's what I do. Super quick reminder to everybody: please do not spoil what's gonna happen or what has happened in the past. Please do not hint at things that I have not seen or do not seem to be noticing, or maybe even have forgotten because my memory is not good. Um, Let me amble through in my awkward, messy, flawed sort of way. Like Mr. Disco Ocelot himself, I have memory issues, weird assumptions about things, partly because of the memory issues and partly because of just the way my brain is wired. But I'd like to think occasionally the flash of insight or an interesting and unique perspective. Mine is somewhat less likely to take the form of an evil, deranged talking necktie, however. So yeah, as always, folks, if you really want to join in the spoiler discussion, we have quarantined the spoiler chat on the Discord server. So follow, there's a link, or just like ask the bot to link to the Discord, and join stream spoilers and dive on in. Yeah, forgetting things is my brain's anti-backseating instinct manifesting its own reality. Maybe so. Maybe it's some sort of a protective mechanism, just as Disco Ocelot's memory loss is clearly rooted in some sort of... Like, it's not... I don't think it's just his alcoholism. I don't think it's just the fact, although definitely ingesting a great deal of poison will do damage to various parts of your body, including your brain. But I suspect that there's some trauma avoidance there as well. All right. So last time, and I'll keep this relatively short, last time we looked at a statue and talked about bad kings. Then we called in to the precinct, and I had a little crisis, thinking that they were going to take away my lack of knowledge of my main character's identity. I was like, oh no, they're going to tell me what his real name is all like right off the bat. Oh no, what am I going to do? I almost put off making that call because I didn't want to know. But it turns out that they actually have a written around that with a way that is both it's completely contrived, but also fits really well. Like simultaneously contrived and authentic, genuine, which seems like it should be an oxymoron, but whatever, it's true. You know? Because they know what they're doing, and they know that we know what they're doing. And so it's like they know that we know that they know that we know what they're doing. And so because of that, they can kind of be like, player? You thought we were going to tell you his name? We're not going to tell you his name. Because not knowing his name is intentional. But one thing that I do want to say is that it's not like I know anyone or anything in this world anyway. You know? Thanks, Hookmaster. Hope Ocelot has a normal one today. By Ocelot standards, maybe. No, I feel like the thing is, we don't know who anyone is in this world anyway. We don't know any of these names anyway. So if they were to tell us his name from the beginning, we would have no context for that to mean anything. And it's possible that he is actually somebody of consequence, of significance, tied to things somehow. Because, I don't know, they kind of they initiate, or they send you down the rabbit hole of thinking maybe he's this important character, because you can think about basically, am I the important disco man? And then the conclusion of the am I the important disco man question is no. No, you're not the important disco man. His biography is known and is not the same as yours. So it is possible that the name will become relevant later before we know that it applies to Ocelot. It's possible that characters will talk about some person. Oh, thank you, Splinch. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed Rocky. We had a chat about Rocky during my Paper Mario 1000 Year Door stream this week. Words are gonna be hard for me today. I'm sorry. I had the audacity to think I could do a few chores around the house yesterday, and my body said that that was not acceptable. So please bear with me. I did get diagnosed. I am being treated. We have a plan, and I should hopefully be getting better in the next month or two. We should be seeing some improvement, but in the meantime, bear with me as I do my best to get through things. Sorry, one thing at a time, I suppose. I'm tangenting my tangent that then tangented. I was going to give you guys a little bit of an update on my health, just so you know, but I will warn you, I'm going to be a little bit lower energy and maybe a little bit slower brained today, and maybe I'll actually wind up being high energy and having my full brain capacity, because I think I was funny watching clips of some of my old streams. I'm like, man, my brain sure came up with a clever thing to say pretty fast spontaneously there. That's neat. I wonder how it did that, but I can't do it now. But maybe we'll get back there. We'll see. I'm very lucky I have a doctor who listens to me, so thank you. Yeah, and I might blue glass because I'm supposed to be actually traveling this weekend. We're gonna see how that goes. I'm going to VGM Con. I have told, because I know, I feel everyone who's in attendance, and everyone knows that I've been having health issues. So if I just fall asleep in the middle of their concerts, they won't be offended. Oh man. So yeah. But what I was saying about Ocelot's name is that right now, I don't know whether his name is actually going to have any sort of meaning in the larger world. If it's going to turn out that he is someone of significance, either in the scope of history, maybe not, or in the scope of the story and the mystery that we're uncovering. It may be that people talk about some guy with this name and we don't know who that is, and maybe that's some guy we go looking for, and it turns out it's Ocelot. They have set themselves up for the potential for that reveal, or for something like that. It's also possible that his name will never have any significance, that his name won't be connected to any figure in history or any character involved in the backstory of the scenario that we're looking at. That his name means literally nothing to anyone except for him and his estranged ex-wife, and I assume the people that work with him, they know his name, but it doesn't have any consequence. And either way, because you might say, if they're not going to do some sort of a reveal where they're withholding information so that they can do a reveal like that, why keep the main character's name a secret if it doesn't have significance? My immediate assumption is that his name is going to be significant, and they give us that red herring very early on to kind of open us up to that possibility, if you're not already questioning literally everything, as I am prone to doing in some ways, because they introduce the thought where the undercurrent behind that thought is, am I the famous disco dude? Again, the answer is no. But it's they're priming you to wonder and to think about it and expect this man to be something significant. But regardless, because we don't even know his name, that further adds to the feeling of disorientation that is so essential to the experience of playing this game for the first time. Because you don't know it and he doesn't know it. You're both wandering through this world, just stumbling around having no idea what anything is or how things work. And so in a way it's kind of delightful that he keeps asking these, you can ask questions about like, what is the concept of money? Because really that's not so far removed from me being inclined to take any potential magic realism elements at face value. Whereas I think, judging by chat's reaction, the majority of people do not have that reaction to being told there is a curse or there's like photo or a spirituality or whatever the case may be. What's the word? Super normal, paranatural. That when those words pop up, I think most players, apparently, I guess, assume that those are not going to have any real presence in our game world. That they are going to be like woo-woo crazy talk, even in the context of Revachol. I apparently don't think that. I apparently am like, okay, well, for all I know, that's real. So for all I know, really, the concept of money might be different here too. The concept of like these basic fundamental things of how the universe works, it could operate differently. We don't know. We are making assumptions. We make assumptions every time we interact with this game. We make assumptions about the world being similar enough to our real world. And then it kind of throws that in our face sometimes by throwing these things that are clearly unfamiliar and alien to us at us. But by withholding the main character's name, they make him feel like somebody you can't know fully. They force this like semi-opaque barrier between you and knowing your character, because names are really important. I mean, I assume that people call him Disco or something like that, because you have to have some sort of a name to call a character. If they don't give you names, you'll give them names. I give people nicknames. I give characters nicknames. I'm not great with my memory, so I'll give, and especially bad with names. So I'll give people, especially in games, silly little nicknames. Yeah, well, Blue Boss, like, this doesn't feel like a gritty detective noir story. Gritty detective noir stories are usually very, very, very rooted in what's supposed to feel like a super realistic world. But beyond realism into, is it naturalism? Where they play up some of the gritty details. Steinbeck did that. I don't remember who else. It's a literary movement. So this game doesn't feel, it's not set in our real world. Not even hyper-realism. No, it was a literary movement that Steinbeck was, I think it's Steinbeck, and this is like the opposite of, anyway, Max Payne is a noir story that is larger than life. It's over the top. It's kind of a pastiche of noir. No, not New Weird. No. It's dating back to the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl era, and it's I believe naturalism is the term I'm looking for, where it focuses a bit more on the grit and the dirt and the nastiness of reality. It posits itself as being like more real than real. But yeah, so Max Payne, although if I remember correctly, I think Max Payne does kind of have some sort of like implied, maybe there's something larger interfering. But I don't remember the details because it's been a long time. Where was I? Okay, I was talking about names and the need that we have to name people and name characters and have something to refer to someone as, both for convenience's sake and also just the way that you engage with them. We like to name people. If you don't give me a name, I will give you a nickname. If you give me a name, I might give you a nickname anyway. I really like nicknaming people. And so it's disorienting to not know his name, and it I mean, we don't know who he is. We don't know his backstory. We don't know where his home is. We don't know any of these things. And his name being a mystery is kind of both at the heart of that and like the one thing that represents all of the things. There's a term for that. It's too literary term. Metonymy? The part referencing the whole. Anyway, I don't think that's quite what I want. But synecdoche? Okay, that's it. Then what's the opposite of that? Because there's the whole representing the part and the part representing the whole. And I used to know these things. Once upon a time, I knew things. But my brain, as has been discussed many times, is not in good shape. So I feel really bad because I would love to know what Lauren, with the full capacity of a fully functional brain, would do with a game like this. Because I think this game would be really rewarding if I were fully capable of engaging with it and remembering things and processing things and such. So I apologize to everybody watching that I can't give you that experience, because I think that would probably be a better fit for this game. But unfortunately, we've got what we've got, and I don't know how much more of this I'm going to get back. So we'll see. It is metonymy! Ha! Yes! Okay, I thought that was one of them. So yeah. That's kind of a roundabout thing. I did say metonymy earlier, but then I thought maybe I was saying the wrong word. Because nobody reacted to it. But yeah, so there was something else I was saying in there, and it's probably not important because I don't remember what it is. But hopefully that is a nice little bit of thinking about things for us to start our day, to start our stream. And now we can actually dive on in. Oh, yeah, so we talked about that and had a very wonderful and interesting experience with, well, there was a moment of humanity that we were able to witness, as humiliating and terrible as the conversation on the radio was. We had this moment of humanity that even these people who are bullying him and laughing at him still fundamentally, some of them do feel bad and worry for him and want him to be okay and are trying to help. And that doesn't make their bullying of him okay. But it does make it complex and human and way more interesting than just these people are bad. These people make fun of you. These people aren't very nice. You know what I mean? So yeah, I really liked that. And then we went and we talked to Roy, the pawn shop owner, the Bird's Nest. And he also revealed a little bit more humanity there. Like there's been nothing super unlikable about him, but he had this moment where he wanted to spare Ocelot from discussing, content warning, his reasons for giving up his gun, which I thought was really nicely done, the way he did it. Well, I imagine that Ocelot is one of those immensely frustrating people where, at least as far as I'm playing him, he's not a bad person, but he's such a mess. And you can't predict what he's going to do or say. And he's just like this, like, steady, terrible descent. And you just know he's going to crash into the ground. And maybe he's going to burn other people with him as he does it. And that's not okay, but you still feel bad and worry about him. Oh my goodness, Madaluna, well, welcome. Your dissertation is about Disco Elysium. Well, I talk a lot about Disco Elysium. So if you like the amount of talking I do about Deltarune, this game has so much. I'm delighted to know that people write dissertations about things like this game. There is so much depth in here. I would love to hear about your dissertation. I'm worried it might be spoilers for me. But I'm delighted. Is it a literary analysis? Yeah. Oh, politics degree. Oh, interesting. Okay, well, that's neat. That's very cool. Well, welcome. Feel free to sit down and join us. Yeah, no, I love this game because I overanalyze everything in this game rewards that. I'm just going to talk an essay at you to the best of my ability. Maybe if my brain starts working again, I can actually finish those video essays about some of the games I want to make essays about. That would be delightful. I can finally do that Final Fantasy X one. Just talk about why Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the best written games of all time, and maybe by then I'll have played enough of this game to do something with this. I would love to do like it's a literary analysis. That's what I do. The Final Fantasy X one is about, oh god, I had a name for it. Hold on just a second. Will you bear with me for just a moment, folks? I'm sorry I'm going on a tangent, and then I have another thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah, no, it's called it's okay, my fellow academically inclined people. The title of the essay, I did actually start writing the essay. I want to turn it into a video essay. I've been trying to figure out how to do that. It's Sins of the Father, Parental Influence in Final Fantasy X. So, look. You want to dig into the parallels between Yuna and Seymour. And they're not the only ones, but they're the central. Oh, and Yuna and Seymour and Tidus, and how very important their fathers specifically are to their story, and how that plays out in the Dad Squad, which I would absolutely not call the Dad Squad in an academic essay, but I would absolutely call the Dad Squad in a video essay on YouTube, because you can do that. I really wanted to get my PhD in literature, but I got like basically conditionally accepted. Decided not to do it because I had a bit of a breakdown straight out of undergrad. And then I later went and got my MFA in creative writing instead, which is actually probably a better fit for me. But I'm still a bit of an academic at heart. So yeah, I'm excited we have a lit PhD in the audience. Cool. Yay, nerds. Although I will say, like, for all that, like, you know, some of us perhaps have these advanced degrees, you can be a very educated and intelligent and well-read and thoughtful person without having had a degree to put that in you. So I talk about my MFA to discuss the kind of training that I had, not to say that my knowledge or skills or experience are better than anyone else's. And I want to make that clear. What was I going to say? There was one more thing before we dive on in. Do you mind? I'm sorry. This is just Lauren is talking about things because I know that we're going to dig into some story stuff soon. One more little thing that I wanted to talk about briefly. I don't know what I want to say about it. I just wanted to put it, I'm just going to put it on the table. I have been asked, how are you role-playing him? I have been asked, are you role-playing him or just playing as yourself? And I have, like, squirmed in massive discomfort because I don't like playing games where you role play your own character, as I think I discussed with a great degree of too much. I talk too much about it. But I don't generally like those games. I've explained that before. But I love if I'm doing tabletop role playing, I want to be able to have everything focus around the individual characters and the individual decisions of the players, and the entire plot should hinge on what they do, and you should build worlds. Every step they take, the world should come up and be shaped around them in reaction to what they do, which I talked a little bit about because I'm trying to figure out whether what's happening in this world and who Ocelot is shaped by the answers that you give, like if that's being built and the answers that you give then define reality later on. I don't know. We'll kind of figure that out as we go. I don't, or we won't. I probably won't remember. But I've been thinking about it, and there've been a few times where Lauren has been like my desire to dig into the lore is like at war with my what feels like a good character choice or something like that, and it winds up, I spin around in circles and get very upset about it. But if there was one moment that I felt, there were two moments actually last stream that I finally was like, no, this is what this man would do, which is really interesting. It was hanging up the call. At the end of the radio call, there's more things to ask about. There's more conversations you're supposed to have. You're supposed to try to get a hold of the lady who called in the body in the first place. All of these things. But instead, there's a dialogue option that paints a scene around it. And I don't think there's any flavor text. I don't think there's any stage directions or anything to paint that scene. It's just the way that it describes just hanging up and walking away. And I had this sudden, strong, clear image in my head of this man who's sort of been hanging on, and you can see he has the option to snap and say something horrendously inappropriate because people are pushing him a little too far. And instead of choosing that option, you can just kind of like beg, like, can we just please get on with this? And there's humiliation, and there's pain, and there's shame, and especially knowing that Kim, who is a man to respect and whose respect you want, standing right outside pretending not to have heard part of this conversation. Just the idea of him hanging up in this feeling of absolute defeat and shame. And I realized that felt like the right answer for me, and no other answer. If I were just gaming, if I were just Lauren is playing through a game trying to investigate a thing and get to the bottom of it, I would have kept asking those questions and been like, oh, that's an interesting thing. Anyway, let's talk to this lady. But I couldn't do that because I was like, this man needs to step away. This man, he is done. He needs to step away from this. He has to hang that up in defeat, walk away. He has nothing to say. Doesn't say anything to Kim about it. Just walks away and just looks down. Just looks at his feet. I could paint that scene. That's how clearly it is in my head. And then the other moment like that was when talking to Roy about the gun. Are you guys gonna do it? You boys are gonna do it? I took too long? Okay, I took too long. We gotta do this every time. This is Lauren's initial talk about things. And I hope this is all right. But this is what we're here for. There are a million people playing this game. And you're welcome to, watch them if you want them to make more progress than me. But otherwise, we're going to talk about these things. No, but then the moment with Roy... They're so cute. The moment after you've talked to Roy and it's kind of been revealed just how bad things are, and that you've sold your gun and somebody outside of the police force has bought your gun. And this is bad on so many levels, but also it's clear that this man was in a crisis. One of the answers that you can give, there's a bunch of answers you can give, but the one that I chose was just saying, I'm sorry. You could try to invent, all the other answers felt like an investigation. All the other answers felt like a person playing an adventure game, choosing the dialogue options to prompt more conversation, or like a detective in a novel might have said in order to get to the bottom of this. But like the sort of novel that's about the mystery and not about the character, which a lot of the Descendants of the Penny Dreadful, a lot of those, relatively cheap entertainment genre publications that were written in a hurry and put out quite a lot of them. It wasn't about the characters. They weren't about there was some degree of he's a hard-boiled detective who burned himself out, drank himself half to death, and his wife left him, etc. That is an archetype that Ocelot does fit to some degree, but like archetypal, but not as a character that you really dig into and get to know as a person. That's not the interest. The interest there is ooh, what happened? What is the mystery? How are we going to solve it? And all the other dialogue options that I had felt like that. They didn't feel right. But my poor, heartbroken, hit the bottom of the barrel and is still dwelling there and can't find his way out, stumbling through the dark with no hope and no forward momentum, all he can do is say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And you kind of feel like if he starts saying I'm sorry, he's never going to stop saying I'm sorry. There are so many things to say he's sorry for. And those were two options where, like, once I really thought about it, it was like, there is no other option. There's only one option I can give. And it made me realize that this character has kind of become a person in my head. And I don't know how that's going to play out with the dialogue options that I choose moving forward. So we'll see. I might say this now and then go back to investigative Lauren. But we'll see. That's interesting. That doesn't usually happen to me in games where they don't give you a predetermined personality. I don't know what to make of it, but it's interesting. So we were last time, we were clicking on this right over here.
An old call box with a matrix of push buttons lists all the companies in the East Delta Commerce Center.
So we called Main Hall Building A and we talked to the bookshop owner, who we are friends with now. And she was like, this is not supposed to go through to me. This is not good. And nothing really happened. We haven't called anyone else except we looked at the empty card and Kim decided that it was new. We're going to go through and we're going to look at all the rest of these just to see what happens, because what else am I going to do with my time? Fortress Accidents. My Dwarf Fortress themed fan. Man, Dwarf Fortress is one of those fascinating things that I would love to, like, commentate someone's Dwarf Fortress thing and build a story out of the stuff that's happening in it, but I don't think I could ever play it. I love things like that. I haven't watched it. I've just heard people tell stories about that one, but I did watch a lot of NetHack, which is also very much like, what's it called? When the storytelling arises from what happens in the game organically. Emergent narrative, thank you. Thank you, Nick. That's what I was looking for. Okay. This is actually serious police business. I'm investigating the area. Yes. So let's go see. All these words that don't mean anything. By the way, I did look up slipstream because I'm used to slipstream as a subgenre of speculative fiction, science fiction. That is not the most common definition of slipstream, so it's not going to have anything to do with this. So that's fine. We bring the biases of our own experiences, and sometimes in the case of weird nerds, the mainstream thing that most people will think of is not what we think of. So we instead think of some obscure nerd thing. Man, RimWorld has one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a video game. It is spaghetti western with guitars, electric guitars in space. Don't know anything about the game, but I sure do love the music. All right, Andrew Orlando Hare, SCA.
You ring the doorbell, but no one answers.
That doorbell is a horrible sound.
What an ominous name for a hair salon. Doesn't bode well for anyone's hair.
What about Andrew Orlando is ominous? I don't know. Do you find Florida off-putting? I mean, I suppose I can understand some concerns there. Let's see. Artemetep's boxing for young athletes and gym. Oh, maybe I could go in there and learn to punch so I can try not to get utterly destroyed by the racist on the bridge. Let's see. I don't know what Artemetep. Because it sounds like it's like Artemis. And then... is it ending in tep? Isn't that a sound from, like, Greek mythology? Not Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology? So it's like almost like it's a combination of Greek mythology and something from ancient Egypt. That's what it sounds like. We'll see. Artemis doesn't box. She shoots. Imhotep, maybe, yeah. That sort of thing. I'm not really an expert on the Egyptians, though. Yes, Artemis is the goddess of hunting. That is correct. But It's the tep part that I'm not so sure on. I'm fairly confident, whether I should be or not, I'm fairly confident about my Greek mythology. If you watched my Hades playthrough, you could have heard all about them. Artemis is my favorite. She's my patron goddess and has been since I was like 4. Let's call up this gym. See if any of these people answer their buzzing things.
All you hear is static, but no one answers the call.
24-hour window. That is really vague. What is this?
You ring the doorbell, but nothing happens.
Emma's fashion atelier?
You wait for a minute or two, but all you get from the call box is silence. No one answers the call.
Fabron's taxi. The rest has been burned off.
Looks like someone has melted half the plastic off with a lighter. The doorbell doesn't work anymore.
Wow! That's an interesting vandalism. Let's see, slipstream.
You hear static from the intercom speaker. It sounds as if someone has picked up the receiver, but isn't saying anything.
Hello, is anyone there?
Yes, hello. This is Tricentennial Electric.
This is a woman's voice, crackling and fragile through the static.
Have you come to place an order?
This is really the effects that they've put on the voice are really disorienting. It makes it sound like it's coming through from another dimension.
She sounds almost antique, as if her voice was being played off an old wax cylinder. A receiver must not be working properly.
Hold on, Tricentennial Electrics. I thought I was calling Slipstream SCA.
My God.
The lieutenant exchanges a look with you.
Sorry?
It's you. My God. I didn't think I would hear your voice here.
Who cares that you don't remember her? Just go along with it.
This is concerning. Well, it's been interesting that there have been so many people that have known him, and I'd like to go through actually and look at the original conversation with Roy, now that I know that Roy not only has spoken to him before, but had a particularly memorable encounter with him before. Like, Ocelot has not been a shy and retiring man.
No, something's wrong here. Are you sure she's talking to you?
No, that's a good question, Inland Empire. 'Cause, like, so I've been called out for my negativity towards Inland Empire because my own Inland Empire was very prominent. So, you know where my brain is going right now? Clearly, she is actually talking to me through some sort of a space-time warp. And so the reason why it sounds like she's coming through on some sort of older technology is because either she's from a different place or time that is older technology, or the space between our dimensions is such that sound doesn't come through quite the same. And so now, now maybe it's not that she's talking to me, she thinks that I'm another person who is actually part of her timeline, her reality. This is why when the game is like, somebody said a term that sounded fantastical, I'm like, oh, maybe there's fantastical stuff in this game. Because my Inland Empire is like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. But it's also possible that, I mean, she could be like playing a role, playing a character or something like that. This could be like pre-scripted something. I don't know what. But something about it doesn't feel right. And I don't think that it's something as simple and mundane as some lady that he hit on in the past, like, week, who's like, hey. But I do agree with Inland Empire. Like, things don't feel like they line up right. There's something else going on. Like, it's not just that there's some lady. So I'm more inclined, honestly, to listen to Inland Empire than I am to drama here. I'm not going to do number 3 though. That would be drama. Well, I mean, like, there's the whole issue with my Night in the Woods experience. That was probably one of the times that I got most heated about people not being willing to believe the supernatural when it's presented to them in stories. But all right, the Inland Empire answer here for me is going to be either 1 or 2. Do we know each other, or who are you? Where are you? Because you could be in another time and space altogether. I don't know. I'm going to ask 2 because that seems really interesting and something's off here. I guess let's ask 2. Who are you? Where are you?
Michelle, just please.
She stops and you can hear her breathe heavily, her breath distorted by ancient static. Oh, is this just a movie? Are they like airing like dialogue off from a movie through the thing?
Why did you even call? I don't understand. You've been gone for months. I thought you didn't care.
'Cause it sounds like acting from a movie, actually. That's interesting, Squizgar. I've been deeply frustrated as a writer myself because I write magic realism, and people will come up with all sorts of explanations for why the magic that's happening in my stories isn't real. And so I kept listening to everything that they said that it would take for them to believe that it was real, and I kept writing one step further. Like they would say like, oh, well, other things need to react to it. Somebody else needs to react to some of this. And so I would write those in, and they would keep finding excuses why that wasn't enough when clearly the magic wasn't real. And I finally came to the conclusion that the problem isn't with what I was writing in my story. The problem is with people. The problem is specifically largely Americans having some sort of a mental block against believing in magic, even in fictional settings, unless wizards are casting fireballs, or it's very clearly we have stepped outside of reality. If something is close to reality, there's a mental block there that is irrational and therefore can't be reasoned with, and it's not based in observing what's actually in front of them. It's a block of its own, and so nothing that you do in your story is going to get through to those people, because it's not a metaphor. It's literally happening on the page. There is magic. The thing that I say is happening is actually happening within the context of the story. And there are people who just cannot wrap their heads around the fact that sometimes magic can happen in magic realism stories. And nothing I do is ever going to get through to those people. You have to have the window in your mind a little bit open, and they haven't just slammed it shut. They've like painted over the window ledge like cheap landlord style, and good luck ever getting that window open again, even in the case of emergency and a fire. You know what I mean? Yes, and Landlord White. But this isn't like a weird set of, like a subset of people. This is a common thing with readers and writers of fantasy, even, who are sometimes like have been in, critique groups with me, workshopping stories of mine. And that's not to say that my stories don't have flaws, because they do. But I have found that there are people who just can't do this. And it's very frustrating to me as a storyteller who likes to put magic just naturally into the world that I write in. And I get very frustrated about it. I don't even know that it's a matter of media literacy either. I think it's just deeply, people just have a really hard time believing it. One of the examples that I give, I'm sorry, hope you don't mind. We have another tangent here. We'll get back to Disco Elysium in a minute. There's a book written by a brilliant native writer, and I don't remember what nation she's part of. But in it, it's called Ceremony. And in it, the people, like the main character is a fuck up, who is trying to solve his personal issues. And it turns out that his personal issues are kind of connected to sickness in the world. The world is sick and the world needs to be healed. And so they have to go through this ritual and this ceremony to heal the world. And in the context of the story itself, what they are doing is as real as any Christian story in which somebody prays to God and gets a miracle, or even a small twist of fate in their favor that they can read as miraculous, a divine intervention. But people couldn't make that connection. They were like, this is a metaphor. This is a thing that is happening within the context of the world. But like they couldn't understand. Yes, Leslie Marmon Silka, that's the author. And it's a beautiful book, and I do recommend reading it. But my classmates just could not wrap their head around the fact that for people from another faith tradition, this is part of their faith tradition and part of how things work. And within the context of the characters in the story, they are working real earth healing magic. And you don't have to believe that that's how things actually work in the real world, but you have to be able to wrap your head around the fact that the characters themselves believe it, and that within the context of the novel written about them, they are correct. But people can't do that. And what I find really fascinating sometimes is people who are able to believe in angels and divine intervention and God answering prayers, but they aren't able to extend that to understanding that people from other faith traditions or other belief traditions or mindsets could genuinely believe in their own miracles in the same way. And it's really interesting to me because for me as an individual, part of the reason why I write magic realism is because I mentioned that there's a window in your mind. Your openness to magic is my oversimplification of it. But you have to understand that when I say magic, like the best way that I've found to get people to understand what I mean is to hyphenate faith magic. Like that there is some essence of something greater than or beyond ourselves, some kind of supernatural. Not wizard throws level 3 fireball necessarily, but something else like that. Like if you are not, like if that window is fully closed for you, your experience is going to be different from mine. And in my case, that window is half open, and it has always been half open. Well, but like you don't even have to use the term magic. It's not the term magic, and this will be people who read fantasy and science fiction and things that are called childish, but they cannot believe magic. Even things that are not presented as magic, even things that are presented as acts of God, but it's not their God, and so they don't recognize it. It must be a metaphor. This is all metaphorical. And I'm like, no, it's literal magic. It's not metaphorical. It is a thing happening in the story. Why is it that when this, and this, and this are shown to you on screen or on the page, you believe all of those things, but the moment something happens that is presented in the same way, that has a supernatural type element to it, you suddenly doubt that the story is telling the truth, but you're willing to believe that the story was telling the truth in all the other ways. So, I mean, it's a metaphor in as much as anything we write in a story is a metaphor. Oh man, Chewiniest, thank you for sticking around and listening to me as I get started talking about magic realism and writing and things like this that have sort of a little bit to do with this game. But it's not even like that they're being dismissive of oh well that's a heathen belief. It's not even that. It's just that they cannot open their mind. Like, they cannot understand it as being a thing that is taken seriously by other people. They cannot understand. Like, it is closed. It is like I am looking at a window and they are seeing a wall. And I am like, but there is a window there. And they are like, no, it's a wall. And it's very frustrating. Yeah, I was raised outside of a theological tradition. I was raised in a non-religious household by an atheist Jew. So a lot of Christianity went over my head. I didn't realize Easter was a Christian holiday for a long time, despite growing up in the Bible Belt. It's pretty special. I don't know. I don't understand this mindset exactly. I've observed it from the outside because, as I've said, I have a very different way of looking at these things. So... yeah, anyway, I'm sorry, this is quite a tangent, and I can go off talking about this, but, like, I don't know. It's a tangent, that's what I do. Anyway, so all that to say, this is the mindset that the tangent gave me a follower too. Bringing this back to this game, like, this is the mindset that I bring to this game. Obviously, I am an extreme example of what I am, so because the window in my mind is so wide open, I'm going to assume all sorts of possibilities that other people wouldn't even think about when it comes to magic and world building and things like that. I mean, yeah. There's also, of course, layers, yes, of imperialism, and racism and ethnocentrism and things like that in this sort of thing. Absolutely. But just like individually, but yeah. So this is why when Roy is like, I can. The soul of the lamp has changed because it was an outside thing, and now it's among domesticated lamps, and so its soul has become the soul of a domesticated lamp. And everyone is like, that's crazy woo woo. This man has a problem. And I'm like, oh, do lamps have souls in this world? You know? Like, are you seeing kind of what I mean by the openness that I have? Maybe to an extreme degree, like how that's affecting the way I interact with this. And perhaps if you see me responding to things in that way now as we move forward, you'll be like, oh, Lauren's doing that thing, because that was my reaction to it. I have no way of knowing in this world, which is a made up fictional creation with rules of physics, and that can also include metaphysics, I suppose, that exist solely because the writers created them to be so. They can do literally anything they want. And so there's no reason to believe immediately right off the bat that, like, because I don't know who to believe or what the reality is. Anything seems possible. So I really shouldn't make fun of Ocelot's Inland Empire for doing the same thing I do. So yeah. Yeah, and nothing in the game has disproved whether lamps have souls or not. It does seem to have made it so that it's clear that Roy has something going on about light that is specific to Roy, as opposed to it being like, I don't know. And so I don't know. I am still curious to see whether we will find some sort of paranatural, super normal element in this game or not. We'll find out. But I'm going to continue to be open to it, while I might rule out specific things as they come out. In this case, I think maybe what's happening is that they're playing movie clips for some reason over the intercom, because it sounds like something being slightly overacted. So we'll see. Hi, Sam. Sam, I'm talking too much. Sam, I'm talking way too much. We've done like 2 things. I've been live for like an hour. We've like clicked on a few things. Oh my god. You missed my rant about magic realism. And my explanation of my own inland empire. Then I've pushed a couple of intercom buttons. That's it. That's all we've done in an hour. So welcome back. You haven't really missed a whole lot. Or you've missed a ton, depending on your perspective. All right. So let's see what's going on here. Tangents are maybe at an all-time high. I don't know. I guess I'm tangenting my tangents while I tangent to tangent. I feel like that I don't know. I should come up with some sort of funny thing and just make it on a sticker and be like, this is the Laurentheflute experience. Hey, if you want, when something I've been thinking about doing, and I'll ask folks about this again later on stream maybe, is to like kind of show people what my streams are like, have like little clips that I'm like, this is what you missed in last night's stream. So if there's a thing and you're like, I feel like that encapsulates the Lauren experience, please make clips. As my brain and body start to recover and I'm more functional, I'm hoping to be able to do more with my clips. I've been trying to figure out how to turn them into shorts and do things. So if there's a thing you like and you clip it, I always look at the clips. Sometimes I'm like, I have no idea why this got clipped. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this person accidentally hit the clip button. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I see what you did there. This is a moment. So, yeah. Am I eating recursion? Oh, man. I finally could watch something by Del Toro. There was finally a thing that wasn't horrific. It was great. I cried a lot. It was so good. The Pinocchio movie that he made. Oh, my God. But that's a whole tangent. Guillermo del Toro is like Lauren's style of writing and themes and magic realism and everything, exactly what I love, except taking the darkness beyond what I can handle. I love it. Hope Punk Mechas. Maybe I'll watch Pacific Rim at some point. Alright, so let's see. Hold on, tell me what's going on. What did I do? Or of course I care, it's just that I've been going through some tough time. I'm going to pick one because it's not quite playing along. Let's see what's up.
Ever since I came to live here, it's different. As if my mind's been wiped clean.
She sounds like an actress, and not in the way that people who are acting, voice acting, are actors. She sounds like she's acting in a movie, and specifically from like the 50s, I think.
A spot of static overrides her words. When she speaks again, it sounds like she's submerged.
Because it's possible that she has had her mind wiped clean, and we're supposed to think about this like, oh, Ocelot's also had his mind wiped clean. But because of the effects and the way that she's delivering the lines, it doesn't, I don't know.
It's so nice.
Because, like, it's a very interesting thing in the world if there's somebody whose mind has been wiped clean, working a job, and there have certainly been stories relatively recently about that happening to characters. But the something about the delivery of it doesn't feel right for me for my Inland Empire to accept that anymore. My Inland Empire has decided that they are putting movie clips.
It's so nice to be able to finally again.
See, it's fun because there's parallels. His mind has been incompletely wiped, and he's sort of forgotten, and his mind is very resistant to go back and acknowledge and touch the things that it wants to hide from. All right. Forget about what?
She sounds like she's about to cry.
So I can say hello, or oh God, please don't cry. I'm going to say, oh God, please don't cry.
She doesn't answer.
So I can say, hey, are you still there? Or you said it was nice. What's so nice about forgetting? I'm going to ask that.
Silence. The only thing you can hear now. ecstatic and waves washing ashore on the bay.
So you can say, what just happened? Or, I get it, you don't want to talk to me. No one ever wants to talk to me. Or he can swear and hang up the call. Or he can say, all right, it's a goodbye then, and hang up the call. I'm going to say what just happened.
Another seagull passes by. It's getting cold standing here, staring at the silent call box.
Game. If you're playing chicken with me to see how many times I will keep pushing the button to try to see if something happens before giving up, ask Mr. Toby Fox how that turned out for him.
I don't know what happened either. We should probably stop playing with this thing.
Or Kim. Kim can backseat instead. They took the option away from me. Can you believe the audacity? I'm so offended right now. All right. Yes. Kim slowly takes Lauren's hand off the mouse and just shakes his head yes. All right. So I can either swear. Thing is, I don't know. Okay. So I was just talking about role-playing. What would my dude do? We'll see how long this lasts. What do I feel would be the thing that Ocelot would do? That might actually become a more comfortable way to play this game. It might cut off my tendency to try to do the thing that's going to give me the best story, or is the most compassionate thing, or whatever. Like, the first one sounds like this is like a guy who's gonna snap. The second one sounds more like, honestly, like the movie that is happening there. I don't know that, like, it doesn't feel like it's built enough to one, although he has had a very bad day. Like, he just had a couple of really rough conversations. But I feel like he kind of burned himself out with them. And part of that is maybe an unhealthy degree of kind of pulling things in when he keeps swallowing back outbursts. So this should not be the outburst that he can't swallow back. There may be an outburst that comes out no matter what. This is not it. All right, it's a goodbye then.
You press the number sign on the keypad that terminates the call. 12 name cards on the call box read.
I want to come back and do that. +1 wax cylinder. I always ask what volition is. In the meantime, we're going to talk to Fortress Accident SCA.
Silence. No one's home at Fortress Accident.
I love the actor just delivering that, like, seriously, that's the name. Alright, Revachol Ice City, all caps.
Silence. No one answers the doorbell.
I'm not going to call Whirling in Rags. I'm not going to do it. That's in character. East Delta Pinball, entrance from Building B.
Silence. No one answers your call.
So it's curious to me. Do I have anything? Okay, since apparently you can... Yes, nothing I've got here. Well, we're going to come back and try that. Especially if I get something that's going to make my volition more likely to succeed. All right. So we did that. Things that we have on the agenda. We have Oh shoot, hold on. No wonder. Sorry, I have to. Okay. I was wondering why my computer was heating up. It's because I forgot to freeze a program. So let's see. We were going to either go into the apartment building or progress the main story. It is now 5 o'clock p.m. and the sun is going down. It's past 5 o'clock. It's 5:10. God, it's such a beautiful song. Oh, that's right. There was the boat person. No, well, I remember a lot of it. And then there's Cindy. I don't know what that is. Which I can tell her the answer that Ocelot would give. And it's gonna not go over well, and that's gonna be fine. I'm gonna do this. I should probably actually delete some of these saves. No, I don't. I actually don't know what. I don't know what he would say, so we're not going to do that. At some point, maybe I'll figure it out. So we've got this lady. And we've got the apartments. And we've got the body. I'm probably going to make bad decisions. I'm probably going to do wrong things. Oh. Shadows in the water. Green plants under the calm surface. Oh, look at that. Yeah, you can totally see them. Look at that. There sure are plants growing there. If I knew more about biology. Oh, look, there's fishies. I might have some smart observation about that, but I don't. Look, there's a bird on the front of her ship. Her boat. Her little boat. Well, this is probably going to be infuriating. You ready? Then we'll go into the apartments. And then we'll go look at the body. In theory. In theory, that's my plan. All right.
A striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets. A silk scarf is tied around her throat.
The silk scarf by itself is so out of place here. Her whole face, honestly, it looks, I don't know. You can immediately picture her, and I'm waiting to see once they give me her voice if she's going to sound like I imagine her based on looking at her. All right.
Good afternoon, officers. I'm Joyce.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM.
She steps closer and holds out her hand over the railing. Yeah, so she can tell we're cops, and she wants to be on, she wants us to be on her side, and she wants to be on our side. All right. Joyce L. What does the L stand for? RCM, what is that? I'm a little foggy here. What gave us away? Shake her hand or don't shake her hand. I'm going to ask what the L stands for.
Phaeton, my maiden name.
Her bony hand dangles from the sleeve of her oversized raincoat. I bet if I were sufficiently observant, I would notice if she had a wedding ring. Although she does appear to be wearing gloves, maybe, which would make it so that I couldn't. she's kind of posh. She doesn't sound as over the top posh as I thought she might, but she's definitely posh. Okay, so I'm not going to give the what is the RCM because I already know what the RCM is. That I have figured out. And since I can roleplay, theoretically I can roleplay Ocelot, he's learned that by now. He's able to retain that. So I'm going to say what gave us away.
Nothing, honestly. I've said it to every drunk in town, and you're the first one who's responded.
Oh, snap. Oh, all right. So much for trying to have an alliance. Sweet. I'm not shaking her hand. I mean, I wasn't going to shake her hand anyway, since people can see, and they will see if I shake hands with this woman. So I'm not going to shake hands with her.
What is implied here? That you're a drunk?
Yes, authority. Not just that you're a drunk, but that the entire police force is made of drunks.
She hasn't actually said it to every drunk in town. It was spoken in jest.
Thanks, conceptualization. So I can either say I'm not a drunk, I'm a police officer, or I can choose not to shake her hand. I don't want to shake her hand. If he says I'm not a drunk, I'm a police officer, he's trying to assert something to himself. That's him trying to assert that to himself. Yes. He's trying to impress Kim. He's trying to get some shred of self-esteem back after it has been completely tattered. And I can't detect jokes. Just like, that's just not going to happen. It's just jokes. Never. I'm gonna take that at face value. Sorry. So I'm not just a drunk, thank you, May. That is perhaps more accurate. Not just a drunk, he's a police officer.
Of course you're not. It was only a joke.
Oh no, she realizes she might have offended me a little bit. It's a strange joke to make, ma'am. I'm not gonna shake her hand. I'm not gonna shake her hand. Why would I shake her hand?
I'm glad to see you here.
Okay, Kim can shake her hand. That's fine. Kim can be the like by the books cop, and I can be the loose cannon. It's good. That movies have taught me that is a fine pairing.
She is unfazed by your rudeness, probably chalking it up to local custom.
Good. Okay. Yeah, what I want is for her to not get mad about it, but for other people who might be watching to see that I didn't shake her hand. I don't like her. I'm not going to like her. She's going to do what she's going to do regardless of what I say or do. So, I'm comfortable not having shaken her hand. Even if she got mad, that would be fine. I would deal with it. My personal biases might be showing here. Yeah, good cop, wacky cop. I don't know if this is good cop, bad cop. I don't know. But you gotta have the loose cannon and their by the books partner. That's been in cop movies before. All right. Well, I'm glad that she doesn't mind. She's like, oh, here they're barbaric. They don't shake hands. Oh, he did suggest wacky cop. That's right, he did. He did say to put on my clown shoes a little bit for her. Okay. Sweet.
I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to assist the RCM in this matter, I will. Gladly.
Uh-huh.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode. Very unusual. But I can assure you of his ultimate competency.
Yeah, so Kim is like, hey, Ocelot, don't forget, clown shoes, clown shoes, clown shoes. While also covering for himself. That if I say crazy clown shoes stuff, it doesn't in any way undermine his apparent having his stuff togetherness. Like, I can clown shoes like crazy, and she'll like be like, what the heck, and look at Kim, and Kim's like, I did warn you, ma'am. So yeah, no, this is good. This is good teamwork. Well done, Kim.
There's a trace of irony in his voice. Mischief, even. This is a tactic.
Thank you, Rhetoric. Rhetoric is my friend. Rhetoric and I are usually on the same page. That is fun. I can't get jokes. If there's like ones that hinge on being jokes, I can't get them. But if it's reading into what people are doing, Rhetoric and I are frequently on the same page. I love because there's something really playful about mischief, like irony, tactic, strategy. But him being mischievous about this, is fun and like I don't know, it's a nice like characterization moment that implies that he's enjoying this. He's anticipating, looking forward to the clown shoes. All right, let's clown shoes.
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation, and the full cooperation of the Wild Pines group.
Is anyone here fluent in British English? Can you confirm if it's really in the meanwhile if you're British? Because it's in the meantime in American English. I'm sorry. Well, my Canadian mom also says meanwhile, or says this is in the meantime. Like, you can say meanwhile this is happening, but it's in the meantime you do this. That's fascinating. Where is in the meanwhile then? Really? I've never heard it before in my life. I'm really curious about this. Okay. Somebody's got to get to the bottom of this etymologically. Is this regional? I'm sorry. These are things. Well, it's because the writing and the voice acting is British, regardless of whether the characters are British. In some cases, at least, some of them definitely have French accents instead of British accents. But you know what I mean? Like that does seem to be where they're leaning. No, I'm not. The thing is, I'm not saying this is a mistake. I'm just like, where does this come from, and why haven't I heard it before? Like I absolutely believe it's legit. I'm wondering where it is. Like in the meanwhile, I've never heard that. It feels really weird and wrong and like, ugh. But obviously, like it's correct. It's just I've never encountered it before, and I would know if I had, because I have like a visceral reaction to it. I wonder if it's regional, and it just doesn't happen to pop up often in things that I have encountered. If it's I don't even know Collins Dictionary. Wow. I'm a Merriam-Webster kind of girl. Super old in English. Uncommon because people think it sounds off, but it's always been technically correct. Yeah, I want to know if people here, because if it is, like, if it was like a more British or a more proper British thing, then using that kind of phrasing would tell me something about Joyce, unless it's just the default of like the writers, the localizers, whoever wrote this in English, choosing something that's more British, which is fine, that's how it goes. But if not, if it's a regional thing, if it's like a more posh thing or a more old-fashioned thing or something like that, that'll tell me a little bit about this character. I don't know. Anyway, that's a tangent. It's probably not actually significant to anything. I'm just like delighted and confused and horrified, which is fun. Well, okay, so here's a little fun one. Because since moving to Canada has been really interesting, because there are things that like linguistic quirks that I always thought were specific to my mother until I moved up here and found out that they're actually just Canadian in general. So it's just that my mom's Canadian. Things that I have been saying my whole life that people thought I was weird, or that I never realized were weird in American English. And then I come to Canada and all the Canadians say it and none of the Americans knew what I was talking about. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why I got that from my mom. But there's a few Britishisms here that I didn't know about because my mom doesn't say them, or they didn't come up, and then I come here and have had to think about it. So like, here's a little one. Like, so if you're talking about the movies or plays or something like that that can be found performed at or found on stage or on screen at a venue, and they are posting that list. If you are if you're in the US, what's playing? If you're in Canada, what's on? There may be sections in the places in the US that say what's on, maybe. I can't say for sure that no one does. But for me that's really interesting. That sort of thing that you don't think about, that's really small and inconsequential, but it's different. And you're like, "Oh, hey, look at that." It's great fun. Anyway, to table emotion. I'm pretty sure that means to put it aside, but I don't know for sure. Milk? I have not noticed a difference in pronunciation of milk. But maybe I just haven't listened. Oh, in the UK, when you table something, you introduce it. That's interesting. Okay, so language is fascinating. And this is why rhetoric is my friend. Yeah, well, I guess that sounds like that's like, it's like the word suspicious, which can simultaneously mean, like, the one who is suspecting and the one who is being suspected. It's very annoying. What do they mean? There's a few words that are like that. Isn't flammable like an inflammable or something like that? There's something about that too. Anyway, language is fascinating. I wish I spoke more than one language because I just really love English. Yeah, flammable and inflammable both mean the same thing. Yeah, that's it. All right. So, Joyce is currently unfazed, which, by the way, that's a word I could not spell until like a couple of years ago. I spelled it PHSASE instead of FAZE. So, whoops. That's fun. I'm usually pretty good at spelling, so that was a fun one to realize I couldn't get right. Anyway, she thinks she's ready for the clown shoes. My friends, she's not ready for the clown shoes. I'm not ready for the clown shoes. None of us are ready for the clown shoes except for the tie. Oh God, is the tie gonna come out in this conversation? Well, we'll see. Kim did tell me clown shoes. Let's do it.
It's hard to get a read on her precise disposition, but she appears helpful.
Well, we know we can't actually translate. Or we can't actually trust anything she says or does. All right. You're on a boat.
Why, yes I am.
She looks at the deck under her feet. Green and white sails flutter overhead. So I can say, not a lot of people on boats are there. Or does she have a name? Or do you have a license for this boat? Yes. On a boat. There's that thing on the internet. Yes. Not a lot of people on boats, are there?
Of course there are. We're on an archipelago. How else are you supposed to get around?
I totally went on this tangent last time or the time before. I don't remember which time, but there was a past time. There was a previous time that I had this whole, wait a minute, there's boats. Let's talk about boats as means of transportation. Anyway, I'm pleased. I know that it's not consequential whatsoever, but I'm still pleased. I'm chalking this up to Lauren getting a point. The 2 days travel thing. Yes, that is correct. You are right.
There is a pinch of defensiveness in her voice, but it is playful.
Huh. All right. So I am super analyzing everything. She's defensive about the boat. Because actually, yeah, probably a lot of people don't have their own boats. I love this. I can either say, wait, we're on an archipelago and look around, or I can say, what do you mean archipelago? Okay, both of these are likely to get a crazy reaction. Like, this person is crazy. Reaction from her. However, Kim did tell me clown shoes, so we're going to play it up. We're going to act more, and we're going to clown shoes it. Because that's what Kim wants. And I want to make Kim proud. So, clown shoes. This is still little bitty clown shoes. We're not there all the way, but we're easing into it. Wait, we're on an archipelago?
Yes, we are. We are on Le Caillou.
Caillou? I thought we were in Revachol.
We are. And the city of Revachol is on the island of Le Caillou.
Still, I haven't seen anyone else sail a boat around here.
I haven't seen anyone else drive a souped-up Capri Kenema motor carriage either.
Oh, she does sound offensive. Wow. In case you missed it last time around, it is much clearer here.
Actually, that motor carriage has been specially issued to serve as a patrol and pursuit vehicle.
He's defensive.
It's for crossing long distances in the greater Revachol industrial harbor. It's not a toy.
Yeah, because when she said souped up, she's implying that it's basically that we're like car enthusiasts who've done some crazy stuff to be like, look at how cool my car is. All right. It's not a toy.
Neither is this. A toy, I mean. It's a machine for crossing long distances in the Bay of Revachol, between the city and the islands.
She pats the cabin hardtop. I guess that's what this is.
You need to make this lady admit she's only riding around on this boat because she's rich.
I mean, I was going for that. Yes, that is correct, Rhetoric. That is what we are doing here. She got defensive. Therefore, I'm going to poke her. However, I am curious why Rhetoric thinks we should do this.
Why what? Stop thinking. Take her down.
Okay, it'll come off like I'm envious and I'm not. Or, why am I even thinking about this? I have police work to do. Or, actually, yes, I need to nail her for this. I would be concerned about the envious. Let's go with that. I'm going to have a conversation with Rhetoric. Maybe Rhetoric will have an explanation for a way to do this that won't come off like I'm envious.
You're not? Okay then. Just keep on admiring the boat then. Unburdened by envy.
Does she have a name?
The boat? No. It is called Cordelati 19 because that's the type of sloop it is.
She's offended at the fact that you might anthropomorphize a boat enough to give it a name. No fun, no romance. Nope. Milk color in Portuguese. Oh, interesting.
The word it feels strange. Such a beautiful boat deserves a proper name.
We have permission for clown shoes. So cool, but your boat really needs a name.
Okay. How about Cordelati 19? Why?
She taps on the side of the boat. It makes a hollow sound because it has no soul if you don't give it a name.
Because it was manufactured in Revachol East by a company called Cordelati, and its hull is 19 paces long.
Typo. The possessive form of its doesn't have an apostrophe. In this case, it should not be with an apostrophe. Because that makes it contraction. It is. Slight problem with the English language. I understand why it's frustrating. It's fine. There have been a few other typos. No, they're fine. They have so much text and they do such a good job with it. I just point out typos because I have worked as a proofreader for too long to not point out typos. Okay, how about the sleek fish? The X something or Dolores? So Dolores means sadness, the sad one. The X something, no. The sleek fish, no. No, we're going to give her a woman's name as is appropriate.
Why Dolores?
This is a good question. Why Dolores? I don't know. Mental note. I will probably forget this by the end of the day, let alone any time in the future. Dolores is the name that pops into his brain. Could be nothing. Could be the name of his estranged ex-wife. We don't know. Could be his mom. Could be a movie star he used to like. Who knows? However, it's probably if the name Dolores comes up later, I'll be like, oh, wait, that popped up before. We'll see. We'll see. Yes. All right. I could either say, I don't know, feels pretty, or I just like the name for some reason. Because he's talked about being left by his wife. That's one of the first things we got. In when you're talking to your primordial lizard brain, whatever it's called, it talks about being left. And he's talked about exes before. Ancient reptile brain. Look, I was close, okay? Ancient, primordial, they could appear as synonyms in a thesaurus. I think that counts. Dolores means pain. Okay, I thought it was sadness specifically, not just pain. But either way, it is a pretty name. I don't know if it feels pretty or just like the name for some reason. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it did say that his wife had left him early on there. Let's see. Feels pretty. This seems more natural. I don't know. Feels pretty.
Well, it means nothing to me. I think I'll stick with the factory name. But thank you for the suggestion.
All right. She's dismissive. Okay, what kind
This is
of
a
boat?
pleasure craft. A 19 pacer. It also happens to be rated for Category 1 racing. Though these days I mainly use it for business.
Oh! Meh. You can hear it in her voice when she says it's a pleasure craft, when she says a 19 pacer. That's a phrase that an enthusiast would say, and she says it with delight in her voice. So she used to race on this. I want to be able to poke her at that. Poke her for that. How do you like it?
My sloop? I like it a lot. It's the eel's hips, baby.
Eels don't have hips, ma'am.
I'm enjoying this part of the interview. It has so little to do with the murder we're investigating.
Kim, you told me to clown shoot her.
I really do, the lieutenant thinks. Is she thrown off yet? He's looking at the woman, assessing her.
Oh my god, Chrono, I appreciate the eels comment. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Okay. I want to push her a little bit
Of
more.
course there are.
There is a pinch of defensiveness in her voice.
Yes, we are. We are on Le Caillou. I haven't seen anyone else.
Actually, it's for crossing. no?
Sorry.
Neither is this.
You need to make this lady admit she's
I
only riding
do.
around on this boat because she's rich.
I do, because Kim wants me to throw her off.
You have the guns and the ammo. Take this Clausen fiend down.
All right. Let's see how this goes. Kim might be like, that's too much. And I'll be like, all right, good to know. Okay, let's talk about the economics of the boat you're on.
Oh my. The E word. You mean to say that it's a symbol of conspicuous consumption? That I'm a member of the ruling class?
The E word. Okay, so I can say yes, exactly, or... Oh my god, please don't make me have to say a word in another language. Precisamundo? Class wartime, baby. Or, no, it's a symbol of our subjugation to foreign capital, the bad kind of capital. Or, forget about it, I was out of line. I've been told clown shoes are okay. Do I want to come across as a nationalist, though? I don't know about that. Gandhi butt. I grew up in Texas with a Canadian accent and never noticed. I am not good at accents or pronouncing words. I'm just really bad at that. I'm self-conscious about it. All right. What kind of clown shoes am I going to wear? How far can I push this? Which direction do I want to push this? Two is the most clown shoes answer, frankly. And I'm supposed to clown shoes. So I'm going to clown shoes a little bit.
Detective, may I remind you that Mrs. Messier is a professional negotiator.
He doesn't look like he thinks you'll best her in single combat.
Then what does that say? Does it say docking reserved for residents of Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A?
You told me clown shoes, Kim. You didn't tell me to engage in actual warfare with her. Those are not the same thing, okay? One is being wacky pants. And one is using rhetoric to try to undermine her. You cannot give me one as my strategic instructions and then change your mind partway through. I would have picked a different answer if you had been clearer about what you were looking for, Mr. Kim, friend. All right.
"33A, this old proletarian haunt here. As I said, plenty of people drive boats of all social strata.
If only my... I'm gonna fail this. I know I'm gonna fail this. I know I'm gonna fail this and it's gonna be dreadful, but I gotta try. But I do know about Revolution, and it's the Eel's Heels somehow gave me points. Alright, this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work, but I guess it's clown shoes. Worst that can happen. It's clown shoes. I'm gonna try, Kim. I'm gonna try. This one's for you, my pal. Well, at least I didn't critically fail. Which I feel might have been worse. Right? Don't critical fails and critical successes... I'm pretty sure that critical failures and critical successes each have specials. All right.
She takes a sip.
It's gonna happen.
Okay.
How much do I want to draw this out? I failed, Kim. I'm sorry. That's okay. Just chalk it up to one more failure of the day. All right. Something's about to happen in here.
Of course.
Nothing happens for quite a while.
They will come from my head, the arguments. Or you can wave your hand next to your head. It will help. Oh, man. Thanks, reaction speed. You're helping.
It doesn't.
Keep waving your hand slowly.
My, it's as if there's a tiny spinner on the side of his head and he's reeling thoughts out.
Except he isn't.
The lieutenant is satisfied with where this is going.
Yes! Okay, I didn't let Kim down. A thought is going to come out of my head and into my mouth, and I will say it.
Of course.
Keep doing it.
Lieutenant, I truly don't understand what is happening here.
Oh, my morale went down. Oh.
I told you his methods are unconventional.
I swear to God, I'm usually sharp. I don't know what happened. Why am I not killing it? Or, what were we talking about anyway? Or, fuck this, I'm out of here and leave. I'm gonna say, I swear to God, I'm usually sharp. I don't know what happened. Why am I not killing it?
Your marbles on glass, dear. Don't worry.
I wonder if this is meant to get her to underestimate me. Oh my God, Heckmaster, is that a reference to Hook, starring Robin Williams as Peter Pan? Because I love that movie. I was a small child when it came out, and I was very excited about it. And I still love it very much. Alright, what were we talking about anyway?
It was quite a while ago, but I think, yes, we were discussing my fast, large, ineluctably middle-class boat.
Ooh, ineluctably, that is a word I don't know. Nice use of vocabulary, my friends. And yes, the middle-class boat. She thinks she's she's very slick. Alright, do you have a license for this boat?
Officer, I assure you I'm a highly qualified pleasure craft operator.
Oh, I should. Oh, that's fine.
The crowns of her teeth are porcelain, white as the boat's hull as she smiles. Her nonchalance might be related to something called the Wayfarer Act, a law that says she doesn't need a license. Sly fox, you're not aggressive enough to harass her further on this.
Huh. Interesting. I wonder if you do this in different order. That's interesting. Well, possibly, but we can't. Alright, I think I have a handle on the boat thing.
Good.
She takes a sip of her thermal cup. Alright, tell me about Wild Pines. What do you do?
What we do. I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant undertaking.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
She's distancing herself. So what do they do?
The Pines' core competency is logistics. Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of things.
There's airships! There's airships! We've got airships, folks! Airships. Airships. It's a whole new category of travel options. That's interesting. If there's a character named Sid, I will be delighted, but I don't think that's going to happen. These people don't strike me as Final Fantasy fans. Alright.
And that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration, offshore platforms.
Oh, so Shinra! So to the east toward the harbor, which is where, I believe that is where the strike is taking place.
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago. The king is long gone, but several of the Indo-tribes remain.
This is interesting. Who are the other Indo-tribes?
Saint-Baptiste, LUM, an unknown entity known as Brightest Star.
Excuse me, you can't just say an unknown entity known as Brightest Star and leave it at that. No, that is unacceptable. You can't do that to me. Okay, so the first one I know there, that's the people who make the medication, because I bugged the poor convenience store employee about that. An LUM. I don't know if I should know what LUM is, but Brightest Star, I'm sure that's not going to be significant in any capacity. I'm sure they wouldn't have an unknown entity that just doesn't show up or have any relevance to anything whatsoever. No. You're in good company, it seems.
Why, thank you.
She does not register the real meaning of the remark. Oh, hold on. I'll be right back. I gotta pick something up for my roommate from the outside of the apartment. All right. Sorry, she went out. And we have had a package thief in the building. So somebody left they left a package in front of our door and I had to let it in. So let me let her know that I picked it up. So I keep my phone here so in case somebody needs to message me. All right. I like that backseating is the naughty word. A+. All right. Does not register the real meaning of the mark. Okay, so how much money does Wild Pines have?
I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year, the company booked more than 20 billion real in revenue.
So I can say, wow, I can say, that's it. I thought Wild Pines is supposed to be big time, which sounds clown shoesy. Numbers like that mean nothing to me, or the money I owe is so much less than that. That's such an inappropriate thing to say. I kind of want to pick it. Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, you know, Kim did tell me clown shoes. We're going to do it.
Yes, past a certain point, numbers begin to seem imaginary. But they are quite real for the 72,000 employees who depend on Wild Pines for their paychecks.
Are we going to get into why we need to break up the strike because of those employees?
A conglomerate the size of Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving and growing, it will die. Then what becomes of those 72,000 families? It is a tremendous responsibility.
You cannot grow indefinitely for all time. It's unsustainable. Where does Wild Pines get all these billions?
They started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Isolas 250 years ago, when Pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted Laurentheflute on behalf of the suzerain.
I appreciate the fact that she actually tried to pronounce that instead of just anglicizing it completely. Yes, number go up, number go up. Let's just worship number go up. What could possibly be more important on the entire planet than number go up? Nothing, obviously. It is a sacred duty to ensure that number go up. Impossible to think of possibly making a decision for any reason other than number go up. Why on earth would you make a decision? What other motivation could possibly be worth considering besides number go up? And then because they get dumber and dumber and dumber, because they get more and more internally looking and close, not even close-minded, but close-focused. Just their understanding of the world, of the universe, gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and they train their replacements and get this like spiral downwards of things to such a degree that they stop even thinking about long-term number going up. And the only thing they think about is short-term number go up now, number go up right now, regardless of whether number go up now would result in number evaporating 5, 10, 20 years down the line. That's fine. That's not our problem. That's not what the calling is. The calling is number up now. Anyway. I'm not a big fan. So my father, the libertarian economist, and I don't frequently talk about politics or economics. Anyway. Well, actually... Shut up, whatever.
Centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavor. Vessels pass through the great unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. The logic of the system is totalizing. It's taken everything from its employees to build it.
I really want to know what the Great Unrest is. I don't know what any of that means. I'm really curious and excited about it. There is something really fun about that sentence, though. Vessels pass through the Great Unrest to re-emerge, and there's all this larger than life, this like grandiose storytelling with apricots in tow, this like very mundane, small scale individual thing, you know. It's a really nice juxtaposition there. It works very well. Don't talk about the Great Unrest if I haven't heard them talk about the Great Unrest. We'll figure that out when we get there. Right now, for all I know, the Great Unrest could be like, there's just like a wall of hurricanes just cutting off part of the world from other parts of the world. Or the Great Unrest could be like places that are engaged in long-term warfare with one another. So as you pass through them, there's always the possibility that even if you're a third party, you could get caught up in the crossfire. So it's interesting. I don't know what exactly they mean by the Great Unrest, and I'm very curious about it. So we'll see if we find out. It probably helps to start out with a royal monopoly.
You know more than you let on. Certainly it helped, but most of the original Indo tribes have failed or been absorbed. To survive, wild pines had to grow and adapt. No suzerain did that.
Whoops. You know more than you let on is a bad sign. That's not what we want. We don't want that. We don't want her to think that I actually know stuff. I need to clown shoes some more. What does such a huge system want with a place like this?
You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners, who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo?
8% of all cargo in the world? That's quite the endeavor indeed. Or you don't keep it moving, the workers do. The company is nothing without them. Let's do the quite the endeavor.
There are no minor cogs in the system. Each terminal must be accounted for, lest the entire system break. Every hiccup in such a system means thousands lose their jobs, the world over. I'm here to assure that doesn't happen.
We're doing this because we care. The reason why we must crush people and treat them badly, just ignore that. Just overlook that. If we stop to address any of these problems or listen to these people who have concerns or questions, other people might suffer. You wouldn't want to cause other people to suffer, now would you? Now would you? Oh my god, job creation. Job creation, the ultimate gift of rich people to society. They create jobs, don't you know? Certainly not that the entire tech industry across the board seems to be conducting layoff after layoff after layoff, downsizing in so many different parts of it. So many of my friends who worked in various tech companies or technology related fields have been let go or worried about being let go because so many of their coworkers have been let go. Like, job creators. Yeah. Cool times. Excellent. A+. But nobody is a minor cog in the system, and no location is a minor cog in the system. You're all so important. That's why we can't let you go on strike to demand the ability to live. You're just going to have to figure out how to live without us giving you that. Sorry, that's just how it is. Yeah, extracting labor and extracting wealth, the use of the word extraction there was a revelation for me. It's such an effective way of describing the way that they approach things. And people. Yeah.
With your help, hopefully, says her warm tone.
Yeah, she's trying to get me on her side. All right. What can you tell me about this strike?
Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets.
Wait, what if I want to hear about trade secrets?
First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade in Aliments. That gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus.
The Emergencies Act of Trade and Aliments. It's so something that was created in an emergency and then presumably used extensively afterwards. An octopus? I will slay it.
Good luck is only kept in place by the vested interests of half the civilized world, including your own.
What the ma'am means is that the Emergencies Act and the RCM both get their authority from the coalition government.
I thought we were permitted to exist under the grace of the coalition government. Because we can't be a police force, we have to be a militia.
You'd be shooting yourself in the foot, in other words.
Oh. Okay, I guess leave it alone.
But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike.
What is your role in this precisely?
I hope I can be of help.
Oh, no, I wanted to see what is your role in
Everything.
this.
I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
Oh, underestimate me. Don't think anything of me. Nothing major. I'm just like a grocery clerk. No big deal. I'm just here. I'm just a messenger. I'm just delivering a shopping list. That's all. No big deal.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place. Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter 20 racist behemoth blocking the gates.
I mean, that's true. He is a gigantic racist behemoth. Oh, you mean Measurehead?
Yes, Jean-Luc Measurehead.
She leans back and rolls her eyes. How were the talks going before the lynching? I suspect that if I had done things differently or received better roles behind the scenes or had different skills or something, that things might have popped up in this conversation. But nothing has popped up here, so we're going to keep going.
Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
You and me, she says, we're the same. We're working together, hands-on, trying to get to the bottom of things to help this world run as smoothly as it possibly can.
But the strike began in December.
He looks at his notes.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
Oh, Mr. Clare, that is a name. So, Mr. Clare had nothing to say to this man, even though he had given them something in the past.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Kim really does seem like a mild-mannered, to the point person by comparison to me, doesn't he? He seems so reasonable. So his questions are just like, well, he's just asking these very reasonable questions very nicely.
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
What a concession! Paying people for overtime? We are truly giving away everything. Next thing you know, the people at the top are going to be on the street. Paying people for their time? Covering their medical needs, especially in a particularly physically demanding and potentially dangerous job like working at a harbor? Unreasonable. Unreasonable. Ugh. How very generous of them to have made such substantial concessions to allow them to continue living and maybe have a chance of doing something with their lives. If you're going to take their time away, compensating them for it, man, I don't know. That's pretty out there.
Ludicrous, even. It's meant.
Oh man, so many questions. So many questions. All right. What happened to this Gaumont? Yes.
Mr. Clare told him to... How did he put it?
She pauses to compose herself. Is she going to actually quote something that some uncivilized peon said?
Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see.
Oh, very charming. Very charming. I can either say cool, not cool, or okay then. I mean, it's not cool. You can hate somebody, and you can tell someone to fuck off, but it is generally not great to do so by insulting some intrinsic aspect of their physical form or their background, things that they have no control over that other people share. I'm going to take just a moment here, just a quick little moment. Can you give me just a little bit of a moment? I'm going to get on a soapbox. The most common time I see people doing that sort of thing is when they make comments about people that they don't like Trump, being fat. And a thing worth pointing out is that Trump is never going to hear you insult him for his weight, but your fat friends will, and they will note that, and it will hurt them. So by insulting something like that, about a person, you are indicating that it's okay to make fun of that. As Chrono says, like misgendering Caitlyn Jenner, misgendering transgender people you don't like, indicates that respecting someone's gender is conditional, and that is not helpful. It is not supportive. It is not good. Don't do it. You can say all sorts of horrible things about people's politics or actions, or the words that they say, but don't say hateful things about them that are outside of their control, that other people have in common with them, as though... Because if you make fun of Trump for being fat, what you're saying is, I make fun of fat people. Don't be a person who makes fun of fat people. Don't do it, please. And misgendering transgender folks you don't like is saying that you don't want to support transgender people unless you decide you like them, which is, what, a fair weather ally, if even? Don't do that. Don't do that. There's plenty of legitimate things to criticize people for outside of that. Don't do it. Do better. Anyway, if I were to say not cool here, it would be because regardless of whether Gaumont is a terrible person or not, You don't make fun of him for being small of stature. No. Don't do it. The size and shape of somebody's body is not a reason to insult them. The actions that they take, the things that they believe, that could be a reason to insult them. You could call someone a heartless bastard, but don't insult their size or shape. Yeah. And please support trans people. There's enough shit going on in the world that they have to worry about. Don't make them have to worry about whether their allies are going to turn on them. We got to stick together. We got to take care of people. You got to actually genuinely believe and support them. Don't make it conditional. Yeah. Was not clear, this is an aggressively supportive community for transgender folks, for queer folks of all flavors. So, like, get on in here. Don't worry. If anybody gives you a hard time, I will fight them. And in my little domain here, I get to make the rules. So there. Yes, we're here and most of us are queer. That's true. That's definitely true. May I point out my chat hat? Isn't it grand? Isn't it great? I think I have the gayest chat hat that has ever been in existence. Like, even if somebody else has a chat hat, look at this. I can pretend that it's like changing colors. It's flashing colors. Isn't it cool? Nobody's chat hat is gayer than mine. So there. Anyway, back to the game. I'm just gonna say not cool because it's not cool. Also, it's kind of an underestimate me way of phrasing it, so. Well, you don't have to fight with fist fights. There are other ways to take people down and stop people from being harmful. So. Thanks, Mac. Alright, not cool.
Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the Union.
More than fair with him and the Union. More than fair, again, allowed them to have overtime. Oh gosh. And healthcare coverage. The audacity asking for such. How dare these lower class peons ask so much from us, the true humans here?
Sounds like usual aggressive posture.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! The unthinkable has happened! And early in the game, too! Oh no! Alright, so. Oh, is authority not criticizing Joyce here? Okay. Well. In that case, never mind. I take it back. Alright, what are their demands?
There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh, yes.
Alright, let's see. How completely unreasonable. These completely beyond comprehension. How could they possibly ask for such a thing? What are they thinking? Let's hear it.
Every worker, a member of the board.
The audacity.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
I can say I like it. I don't know what to think about that. Over-aggressive calming posturing. Seems like they have no idea about business. Oh, man. I don't know what to think about that.
Fortunately, they explained it. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision about anything, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal.
She is, of course, going to be spinning this in a way that makes it sound as preposterous as possible.
Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group.
That's pretty funny, I have to admit. The workers can't be kings. The king is the king. The king is dead, long live the workers, or what are you gonna do? Oh man, Kim, if I knew what you wanted. I feel slightly adrift. Gotta think on this. What am I doing here? I should probably not think as much as I do about like every single thing that I say and do in this game, but I do. I mean, like, it wouldn't actually be functional, but the thing is, I suspect that they're asking this to be able to negotiate having representation on the board. You ask for something that is a more extreme version of what you want so that you can then walk it back to something that the other side is more likely to agree with. That seems like a pretty standard negotiation tactic to me. Or she could be exaggerating it. We'll see. I haven't looked at their pamphlets, I don't think. I'm gonna say the king is dead, long live the workers, or the workers can't be king, the king is king. You know, this seems like clown shoes. This seems like clown shoes. The king, because the king is dead, so I can't actually be a royalist. So let's go clown shoes on this. Okay, Kim, the workers can't be kings, the king is king.
That may well be. It's not up to me to decide who is king, but as negotiations go, it's not a swell start.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to win her over. Normally I might try to like get a little bit more on her good side, but I'm not. That was not my strategic objective. So I failed to do anything particularly exciting here, but that's fine. Not every conversation is going to be a particularly interesting and soul-bearing one, and I'm not going to succeed in this boss fight. It's fine. That's fine. What are you going to do?
I'm not sure. Naturally, I assume that was just their opening position. A hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again.
No. Oh, that's the entirety of what they're asking for. Huh. I do wonder what their end goal is, then.
And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags. A disastrous situation if there ever was one.
All right. But you were present when that happened. Like, you were here. You did not just show up in the past couple of days.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
It's a good question.
I first heard it from the bowyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me mañana."
Her reply comes quick. Does that mean that she is covering? Does that mean that she's trying to not sound suspicious here?
This checks out.
I think I failed something there. That's fine. All right. The scabs at the gate. Did you put them there?
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock come to plead for work where the union refuses to?
The huddled masses. Oh. And you expect me to take you seriously, ma'am?
If they were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not right now, at least.
That's not a denial. I mean, we don't know who sent the scabs, but they were clearly sent by somebody. To incite violence, that they can then say, look and see how crazy and violent the strikers are. We need to put them down. It's a possibility. But yeah, no, she is very definitely, this is not a denial.
It's implied she's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
Whip. Okay. Alright. Interesting. We should find out when exactly the scabs showed up. I don't remember. Let's see. Tell me about this union boss, Mr. Clare. We've heard about him.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first.
Well, they're clearly trying to incite violence with the scabs. That's why they have a military man leading the scabs. So I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to do. Alright, so she is saying this about Everard Clare. And I didn't hear sarcasm in her voice there. I mean, she may be, like, covering other negative feelings about him with, well, this is one positive thing I can say is that he does seem interested in the workers. So really?
Of course not.
Ah.
Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
Yes, accusing unions of corruption. That is pretty common. All right. So that's interesting because I'm pretty sure Everard was the one that Gaston is paid by to write his pieces for him. Actually, well, hold. So he and Gaston sit and think, and they talk 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 about all these ideas and things that Gaston then writes, which he doesn't believe, but he is a very effective centrist who's good with words. And so he's able to take what he's told and write it down. He sounds like he thinks that Everard genuinely believes these things and makes it sound like these things make sense while he's talking to him. Which normally I would say is an indication that somebody is a true believer in the things that they're saying. Now, you might wonder, perhaps, if he's so passionate, so genuinely passionate about what he's talking about, why does he not do the writing himself? And there's a difference between being well-read and knowing the things and being able to put words together well. So that does make sense. Because, like, if Everard didn't genuinely believe in the things that he's doing, then I feel like the way that Gaston, the centrist, would describe their conversations leading into the things that Gaston writes would be different. If Everard were not a true believer, I think that Gaston might pick up on that and sense a bit more of a kindred spirit in that regard. So I'm inclined to say that no, I don't think Everard is fantastically corrupt and doesn't believe in the things that he's doing. I'm gonna ask. Yeah, no, but believing your own bullshit. So the accusation that she's making is that there's an accusation in here about him not being a true believer, and that he could be doing all sorts of convoluted mental gymnastics to justify decisions that he's making and things that he's doing. But it would be different, I think. It would be different. What she's accusing him of, I don't think is the problem. There may be corruption in the union leadership. That is possible. There is probably some degree of corruption, just because humans are flawed creatures and therefore open to the possibility of corruption. But I think that what Joyce is asserting here, that Everard himself is fantastically corrupt, that he is an evil, monstrous fellow, an inhumanly monstrous fellow who doesn't care at all about the workers or the interests of the workers, and he's just trying to make it for himself. I don't think it's that. I mean, it might be other, like, it's maybe more complex and not an idealistic situation, and he may not be the sort of person that we could idealistically consider a hero. He may even be a pretty crummy person, but I don't think that Joyce's characterization of him is correct, based on both my understanding of Joyce and the bias that she's coming to this with and that she intends to instill in others, and the conversation we had with Gaston. So we shall see how this plays out. I have partial information and a flawed brain in and out of game. So we'll see. But that's where I am right now. You may agree or disagree, but that is what I am seeing with the pieces that I have. This is not giving me enough opportunities for clown shoes, though. I'm gonna say nothing and see if she'll just keep talking.
He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar.
Irredeemably nepotistic. How do you think Joyce got the money that she has to buy this ship, or this boat that she's used for racing? How do you suppose she got her position as a negotiator? Or the skills to succeed in this position? I'm sure she worked her way up from the bottom, pulling herself up by her bootstraps with absolutely no help or assistance from anyone else. I'm sure she has no connections whatsoever. Oh, nepotism only happens to other people. Yes. Yep. All right. Wait, there are two of him?
Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over.
All right. Keep an eye out for that. Edgar being a twin is easy for me to remember. I am a fan of Final Fantasy VI.
It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues.
Okay, so circumventing the term limits is concerning. All right, I wasn't sure what they meant by, like, term as foreman. But okay, yeah, so taking charge, they basically trade off who's the man in charge, which is very much like kings. And frankly, very much like the political families that rule the United States and Canada to some degree. I don't know how prevalent it is in Canada because I'm newer here, but I do know that, for example, we've had 2 Trudeaus and 2 Fords, so I assume that there is at least some degree of the ruling class families, as there are in the U.S., without a doubt. Which is very frustrating, even when something is intended to be democratic. It seems like it's very easy for it to shift back into an aristocracy of sorts. Yes, presidential dynasties indeed. And yet they pretend otherwise. But what's kind of funny is it's not just the presidential candidates. It's not just the people on that scale of things. It's not just the families that are super entrenched, but it's also like the idea of a ruling class of, well, I've done my time and therefore I deserve this position. I believe when AOC was elected, the person she was running against, the Democrat that she unseated, I think, or took the position from, was so upset because it was his turn. It was his turn to win, or something like that, and just, it's frustrating. I don't know if it's just the maths of elections being broken, although there's definitely, I mean, if we're talking about gerrymandering and voter suppression, like that is definitely a thing. Also, yes, if you're rich, you know how to run and hold office. You have connections already. You have the time to do it. You know how the systems work because the systems work. And if you don't know how the systems work, they're not going to work for you. And then you have people like AOC who are genuinely working class people having to figure out how to do it. It's interesting. Yeah, first past the post is a terrible system. Okay, I wasn't sure exactly what you were talking about there. But yeah, first past the post is a problem. They were supposed to change that in Canada, but that didn't happen. Ranked choice voting all the way, please. Yeah. Anyway. Maybe we'll fix the world a little bit at a time. But in the meantime, it's hard to do that. We can't just change that overnight super easily. But do what you can do. Vote when you can, including in your local elections. Those can make a big difference. Support candidates like AOC who are kind of on the outside from the ruling class and may actually be able to get in there and actually make bigger change, ideally. And do what you can on the local level. Find mutual aid and equivalents to mutual aid, things that are people helping people. And do your best. Voting is good. It's not the only thing to do. It's not like one and done. Okay, you're done. You've done your duty. But it is good. It is important. Yes. It can't solve everything. So vote and then do other things. What those other things are depend on your skills, your interests, where you are, your abilities, and so on. And I'm not going to tell you what to do or what those are, but do vote. Do vote. I get to vote in 2 countries. It's very cool. I have dual citizenship. Haha. All right. So she is accusing these brothers of nepotism and circumventing term limits, which, I mean, if this is factually correct, which I assume it would be because this is the sort of thing you can very easily prove or disprove, that is not good. That is suspect. That is bad. That is not what you're supposed to do. Now, the embezzlement... That's an interesting an interesting accusation, and one that very well may be true. So I'd be curious talking to these fellows what they say. What about the union itself outside the Brothers Clare?
The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that.
So it was once a normal union, and now it has become...
Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The Brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
So I'm inclined to disbelieve everything that she says. Just because she is a biased source. I love that the shading on her face is green. Like, it really makes her look like an alien. And like Kim has the orange of his clothing in his face, but hers, I don't know. It's an interesting design. The art is really interesting. It does make her look kind of undead, doesn't it? No, everyone's a biased source. No, that's true. But I know what her bias is, and some people have stronger biases. Like, there are people that you are... There are people that you... I mean, everyone's going to come to something with their own bias, but there are people whose opinions you always take with a larger grain of salt than usual. And her talking about the union when she is literally the company's appointed negotiator against the union, I'm inclined to take everything she says with a grain of salt. But I am curious about this because this sort of thing is plausible, but it's also the kind of propaganda that gets used against unions. One of the things that we in the U.S. have been raised with our strong anti-union, anti-labor organization, educational system. One of the things that we've been told, so one of the talking points that you'll hear is about corruption in unions and how imperfect and corrupt they are and how they take money from their members. And I'm sure that it's true that happens, and it's certainly always a risk that could happen. But I mean, part of it is like the fact that those are the things that she says, and I'm like, that's literally what the propaganda says, ma'am. It makes me kind of question it, but also it does feel plausible. But you also, like, she can make you be more likely to trust her if she's like, you know, as much as I hate to admit it, I have to respect what they used to be. But not now. They've become bad now. So it's interesting. Yeah, I know that I'm going to come at this from my perspective as having been raised in the U.S. and lived most of my life in the U.S. And I try to say that as much as I can when I talk about like generalizations or my interpretations or my assumptions, because obviously that is going to color what I know and how I perceive things. And there's no getting around it. That's just all there is to it. For better or for worse, the people who wrote this game are in a different... They live in a different world with different experiences than I have. And I'm never going to understand that. So there will be things here that I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. That doesn't check out with what I'm used to. And that's just how it is. And that's fine. I've accepted that. And I hope that you are all able to accept that too. That there may be things that I say that are completely irrelevant to the story itself because it was created by people with different world experiences than I've had. And it doesn't make the things that I say necessarily wrong in general, because they may be true of the part of the world that I know, even if that doesn't actually translate into this world here. So we'll see. So let's see what she says, how she describes this.
A mob. The debarders are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, I suspect we'll be forced to cooperate with them.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so Kim's opinion is coming out here. That's interesting. That they've basically become an organized crime family, which would make sense keeping it in the family. The Trumps, for example, are a crime family, and I know that there's probably a lot more that I don't know about, and I know that other countries have more of that too. And this is a thing that I don't have a lot of historical knowledge about. As I have said repeatedly and will continue to say, I am not a historian. I'm not a sociologist. There are lots of things that I don't know. Literature and language, I do. So I will pick up on those things and point those things out. But a lot of this other stuff, I don't know what it is, and I'm probably going to get it wrong. All right. So if Kim thinks that they are a crime syndicate, that's interesting.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother.
She turns to you. She definitely likes Kim. She seems like she thinks that Kim is on her side. I suspect my clown shoes maybe have helped with that a little, maybe.
And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Débardeurs Union is...
Curious and talkative people can be very critical of other curious and talkative people, I'm just saying. An effective advocate for the rights of local working men, a giant leech sucking the life out of Revachol, basically a socialist mob, or I prefer not to have an opinion on these things. I don't know. I'm a drunk. Come on, Ty. This is when you should give me a clown shoes answer. When I should start talking about how I'm going to take over Revachol and do better or whatever. Not just a drunk, no. A drunk and... I could agree with Kim, or I could take a non-answer here. You could just not choose a political position. You could just say, I'm not political. I don't believe in politics. I keep myself above politics, outside of politics. Take the centrist answer. We could do that. I suppose that is. Yes. You might not care about politics, but politics cares about you. No, that is true. As I think I probably ranted too much about during the... Was that during the Gaston stream? Well, because, like, here we've got the socialist side of things. We've got the anti-socialist side of things. The centrist side of things. Giant leech. I don't know. Alright, Beard has pointed out that perhaps my posture is bad. Alright, unfortunately, I'm getting tired. I'm so sorry. And I know this conversation is not close to being done. Alright, let's see. Yeah, no, this is a boss fight, and I think I've done really badly on it, but that's okay. I feel like I'm flailing in the unknown, but that's... Even if you fail things, it leads to interesting experiences. Yeah, no, unfortunately, I have been unwell and will probably continue to be unwell until my medication starts kicking in. Just in case you missed the talk at the beginning, like I did finally get a diagnosis. It is exactly what I thought, times 2. And the treatment is very straightforward and very simple. But unfortunately, it takes a few weeks at least to kick in. So it's fine. It's fine. It's just subclinical hypothyroidism, which is to say that the numbers are right along the edge, but the symptoms are there, and then iron deficient anemia. So I'm just taking massive iron supplements and the lowest dose possible of Synthroid, which feels like something from like the cyberpunk stories that like you would get some Synthroid to like deal with your cybernetic body. So it's not a big deal. But it does mean that I'm really, I get very tired and low energy, and actually it can lead to brain fog and memory issues and general slowness and things. So, yeah, there's apparently a bunch of us thyroid buddies. So, yeah, I should be feeling better. I should be feeling better in a few weeks. But I made the mistake of trying to do a few chores yesterday because I've been feeling good for a few days. So I was like, I'm going to cook dinner, and then I'm going to clean up the kitchen some, and then I'm going to do my laundry. And it was too much. That was definitely a bad idea. Whoops. So if I'm tired and kind of fading right now in this conversation, I apologize, but that's why, like, I've been kind of suffering stamina issues since last night. I take Synthroid before bed, so then I don't have to worry about waiting before I eat. Oh man, hyperthyroid. I think Synthroid is only for hypothyroidism, because it gives you the stuff that you've got too much of. So you want to have like the anti-Synthroid. Oh my god, interesting, Serious Inc. Okay. So that's like a Pokemon evolution for Whoopers is what I'm hearing. What do Whoopers evolve to? I'm sorry, I've really tangented this. Quagsire. Is Quagsire cute? I assume so, because Whoopers are really adorable. Oh good. I'm glad, that's important. Okay, I have to pick an answer. Oh, okay, interesting. Bubblegum. Everyone I know is hypothyroid, so I didn't know about the hyper side of things. So, yay. Well, I hope that you can join us then if that's the goal. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I expect to be shown some adorable Pokemon after this stream, but for now, I need to make a decision and then back out of this conversation because I can tell that my stamina is going. So, what is my opinion, detective? I really don't know. I want to agree with Kim. But that's a union. I don't know. I'm going to agree with Kim here. That might not be what he wants. But I'm going to back out of the conversation as soon as I can and come back next week. And apologize for having taken so long with this. I went too long. I'm sorry. I should have realized sooner. Alright, we'll take a giant leech sucking the life out of Revachol. See what happens. That is at the very least dramatic, so it could be Clown Shoesy.
Indeed. And a hungry one. Sadly, Wild Pines have cooperated with what amounts to a crime syndicate for 2 decades. However much you feed the leech always hungers.
I do have to point out here, there's a fun bit, since we were talking about Britishisms versus Americanisms. The treatment of a plural noun of like companies and stuff, whether it takes a plural verb or a singular verb in the US, it takes a singular verb. In the UK, it takes a plural verb. So I would say Wild Pines has cooperated. She would say have cooperated. Grammatically correct. It's just different. His is the mob one? Oh, I guess so. Well. Can I do this change the topic thing and come back here? Or do I lose access to this topic? That's actually, let me put on my chat hat so you know I mean it. But if I pick 6, if I pick the 6 option right here. Okay, well, I mean, I will definitely remember too, because I know that I'm interrupting in the middle of a conversation. So I can pick 6 here, and it's not a problem. Yes, the hat is in action. The hat is how you know. Okay, yeah, well, I've done that before. I've done bouncing back into conversations, so I'm gonna do this. Alright, let's change the topic.
Of course. How else can I help?
Okay, so if I say that's all for now, leave, and then I save. Okay. Oh, good. I'm going to ask her number 5. I think that's sufficiently clown shoes. Maybe I should have jumped into that. Okay.
Of course, Detective. Take care.
Oh, I have a thought. Hold on. Let's see what this is.
Hey. Psst.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. I got us into this. Okay. Rhetoric is talking to me. Rhetoric is my favorite. We're gonna see what happens. I'll muster the energy because it's Rhetoric, my favorite. Okay. I can either look around or say who, me?
Yes, you. Word on the street is you're ready to start building communism again.
I want to ask both of these questions. Again? Because there was communism here.
Yes, you're ready to start building communism again. You've built it before. They've built it before. Hasn't really worked out yet. But neither has love. Should we just stop building love, too?
I want 3 to be sarcasm. But I don't know that it is. Because I'm scared to pick those answers. Yes, we should all stop building love. I don't know. How are you feeling, man? Mr. Ocelot? Love has worked out really well for me. I'm a love winner.
Good. We need tender men like you building gargantuan communism. Word on the street is it's going to be 10,000 times larger than any communism previously attempted by human beings.
Gargantuan.
Is that right?
Gargantuan communism. What? How come there's word on the street?
You keep saying things like, down with the bourgeoisie, eat the rich, sodomize the landowners, impale all people who have more than 25 real in their pockets, literally murder all human beings regardless of their political beliefs. That kind of stuff.
Literally murder all human beings regardless of their political beliefs. Oh my god. I haven't said anything like that. I've said some mildly left-wing things, but none of those. That's true.
Oh yes, the mask of ambivalence. Don't deny it. You're about to rip it off and reveal the monstrous seven-eyed lamb of global communism that would devour and masticate mankind.
Oh my god. Oh my god. By using a higher level of diction here, which is appropriate because it's rhetoric, it's like so much more hilarious. It's so much more clown shoes. It's just so funny. And yes, rhetoric has a way with words. It's amazing. Reveal the monstrous seven-eyed lamb of global communism that will devour and masticate mankind. Amazing. Amazing. I love it.
Everyone can see that. So tell me, do you have any questions before we fire up the big communism builder? Or do we get right down to it?
Wait, first, what's this communism even about?
Failure. It's about failure.
Failure?
Yes, abject failure. Total, irreversible defeat on all fronts. Absolutely vanquished, beaten, curb-stomped and pissed on. Until you came along. You will reverse the fortune of the workers of the world.
Man, this is amazing. This is the sort of thing that I can tell is written within a worldview outside of my own life experience, because this has never been attempted in a serious way that changed the shape of my country and my life experiences, and we're living out the consequences of it. There's a bitterness here. Everybody else messed up. Everybody else did it wrong. Everybody else failed. But I'm going to be different. That is something that I can understand what they're doing with that. I would assume that this is written in the context of a culture that has had this happen repeatedly, because they tried it once and then it failed, and then we had to deal with the consequences and life went on. Does not lead to this, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be different. Keeps crashing and burning, but this time it's going to work, I swear. It's a different experience. I have no personal experience with this whatsoever.
You alone, against every living thing, against every human alive. 800 trillion real in the hands of an impossibly well-organized ruling class. Towering city blocks of bankmen who have the ears of prime ministers. Million-headed armies of nations and the love of your own mother.
And this feels like, of course people are against us, but we're going to fight. That just proves that we're doing the right thing. We're going to take it down. Like, yes, the odds are against us, but we're going to do this. Like these sound like the things that an idealistic teenager would say. Exaggerated. Idealistic teenagers don't quite say it like this, but what it's taking to an exaggerated extreme, is
You against the atom, the charm and the spin, where the whole world failed. Matter failed to bend to human will. Human will fail to get out of bed and tie its laces. You alone, single-handedly, will rebuild the dreams of the working class. You are the last communist.
This is beautifully written. Like, the writing is beautiful. Like, I keep repeating sentences to myself. Like, I keep repeating them out loud. When I played through C++, what is that game called? No, the one that I just the text game. I'm sorry, this is my memory at work that I played over Christmas. Open Sorcery, thank you. When I played Open Sorcery and I kept reading lines again that I'd already read, just because it feels good to have poetry in your mouth. It just feels really, it tastes delicious to speak beautifully written sentences. These are beautifully written that way. It's really, really gorgeous writing. Like, it's a little crazy, but it's beautiful. A little crazy. And it's all very intentional. Like, they know what they're doing. They're so in control of language. I'm jealous of the skill of the writers that I keep coming across. Not Stray, but so many of the other writers, some of the other games that I've played that were just gorgeously, gorgeously written. And I'm just like, damn, I want to be able to do that myself. But in the meantime, I will just admire their sentences. So the whole world failed to come together, and I mean, this feels like this is perhaps referencing the disco revolution that has been kind of vaguely sketched out in previous conversations. Whatever it was, the experiment that the world at large could not allow to happen here. Perhaps the socialists or communists, whichever they are, because like I said, I am not entirely clear on what the true definition of the people in this, like the revolutionaries here. Perhaps they were like, we are going to stage a revolution and the world will stand up with us. And matter failed to bend to human will. We will stand up with us and we can overcome all odds. We can do this. And then it didn't happen. Nobody showed up. There were no reinforcements. You could not exert your will against gunfire and cannon fire destroying your city around you. And thus the dream. Thus the dream came to a sudden and bloody defeat. So I think that's what it means by human will failed to get out of bed and tie its laces. You are the last communist.
Now get to work, comrade.
I don't want to opt into this. And please do not discuss things that have happened in the history of the world, like the game world, because I haven't encountered those. And I would love to be able to discover it on my own. And in the meantime, I will come to all sorts of conclusions and make a lot of guesses. I tend to be aware when I come to conclusions and make guesses that they are frequently not grounded in a lot. Especially with this game, and as early as I am, there's so little for me to stand on. So I'm going to say things and you're going to be like, that is not how that works. Well, I don't know enough to know how it actually works, so I'm going to throw some stuff out there, and it may be a little bit out there, or I may have completely misunderstood something, and eventually I'll figure it out, especially if my medication starts working and my brain starts working better. I'm really looking forward to that. We'll see if it comes to pass. I don't want to start building communism. I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. I don't think that is a thing to do, and that is certainly not a thing that I think I can do, and not a thing that I think that Ocelot can do. And I think that it's too tiring. I don't have it in me. I'm beat down and broken is exactly the reason that Ocelot would give to say no. I'm gonna let my brother Rhetoric down, and I'm sorry, Rhetoric. I'm sorry to crush your dreams, but this is not the clown shoes game. We're gonna do that. Your words are beautiful, and you are insane. So no, I am tired and beat down and broken, and I don't even know how to tie my own shoes, and they don't even have shoelaces. I don't know, folks. I don't know, but I'm going to let down Rhetoric. We're going to do this, and maybe this is going to bore everybody, but this is the option that we're going to go with.
Very well. I guess no one will build communism then. Tell the working man it's over, unless anyone has objections.
Wait, are other parts of my brain going to weigh in on this? Oh, no.
No objections. It's mathematically impossible to achieve a classless society. Everyone knows this.
Oh my god. My brain bits are having a discussion.
Anyone? Anyone else? There's no one? There's no one. Okay then, lie down and let the water carry you downstream.
I'm sorry, Rhetoric, but at some point I will hopefully find something that I feel like we can fight for and save the world with. I just don't think that that's the one to do here. Alright, maybe because I'm too tired, but we're gonna save. We're gonna make a new save. Sorry, communism. Sorry to disappoint everybody. I don't want to do a Clown Shoes playthrough, and the way that that's presented made it feel like Clown Shoes. Okay, good. I'm glad that you're not disappointed. Thank you, Aether. So I am going to save one more time just because I don't trust myself for having saved. This is the save. This is the save. Yes, save. Thank you all. Reuse bits and replace the contents of the same game. Yes. I mean, we'll see what the game thinks. I don't know what I'm trying to do other than turn off the computer so that I can maybe get some sleep for my poor brain. Thank you all so much for joining me and for your patience. I'm gonna try to pay more attention to my stamina levels in the future because it really is a shame in this game. Because with some games it's like, oh, my reflexes are going downhill and I can't win this fight. But here it's like my brain is slowing down. And that's very frustrating because that's usually, like, I don't have reflexes, but I usually have the ability to process words pretty well. I read good. But thank you all so much for your patience. Hopefully things will pick up a bit. I hope this has been all right. We'll resume the rest of Joyce's conversation next week. See how that goes. Maybe then go to the apartments. And yeah, if you're going to be at VGM Con this weekend, I will be there unless I wake up tomorrow and cannot manage to get there. I will probably be resting a lot, possibly sleeping in concerts. But otherwise, I will be back next week. On Tuesday, we're playing through the rest of Chapter 3 of the Thousand Year Door, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, which is really fun. I'm actually really enjoying it. It's picked up, and then we're going to continue to do this on Thursdays. And my roommate's going to be going out of town starting next weekend, so I was thinking about doing a cooking stream, and maybe a music stream, because she'll be gone for an entire week. So if that sounds like fun, provided I have the stamina to do that. And I'm hoping if I get my stamina back, we'll eventually do creative sprints. But for now, this is what we've got. We've got Thousand Year Door on Tuesdays. We've got this on Thursdays. And yeah, thank you all for being here. Feel free to join our Discord if you have not yet. That is a fun place to hang out for the spoiler chat. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I need to say, so I'm gonna shut down. And I will look at the cute Pokemon you sent me. And I'm gonna snuggle my kitty cat who has been sleeping. You can't see her probably, but she's there's a blob right there. That's her. That's Sophie. Thank you all. Yes, you're lovely. All of you are lovely. You're lovely too, Broccoli. Do you know broccoli is full of vitamins? I think it's high in iron, making it a good choice for people like me who have iron deficiencies. Good night, folks. Sleep well. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you all next week. Bye!